Last month, I decided to take a break from Final Fantasy XIV until 6.2 came out, and this gave me a chance to catch up on a few games from my backlog, including Stranger of Paradise and my new favorite JRPG, Scarlet Nexus. A game I've actually been looking forward to playing ever since it was released, but I just couldn't find the time to do so because Final Fantasy XIV. But after clocking almost 90 hours into the game, I thought I'd make a video talking about my experience with Scarlet Nexus. So, since I want to end this on a positive note, I'll get the bad stuff out of the way. Scarlet Nexus, there's not a lot of stuff that this game does wrong, but I do have some issues with it. First off is the huge lack of character customization. While there are certain options present to customize your appearance, the variety is basically non-existent. Compared to other RPGs out there, the options present are lackluster, and even Code Vein did a better job with it. Now, of course, you could say that it's because Scarlet Nexus is not involved with created character, but that's a really bad argument, and you know if you play other RPGs. Another thing is the enemy variety. While the enemies present in this game are really interesting in terms of design and everything, the variety overall is not what you'd expect from a game in this genre. It's like it's like in a similar situation to Neo 1, where initially there's a good chunk of enemy types, but after the second half you just keep seeing reused assets over and over and over again, and it just keeps on going. However, I would like to point out that this situation is kind of alleviated in this game due to the combat system because it's really engaging. Not as deep, but it's really engaging. However, the fact is that there just was not enough enemy variety over the 40 hours of its main campaign. Of course, it's not a deal breaker in my opinion, but it's still worth pointing out because if there's ever a sequel, I really want the developers to focus on these things and make it a much better package overall. Next up, the camera and the targeting system was also a pain to deal with for me. While it's nothing new for third-person games to have garbage cameras, the targeting system was way more annoying because I played on PC with the PS controller, so I had to press and hold the R1 key while moving the left stick to cycle through enemies. But it often felt like my character was locked in some sort of animation and just couldn't do it until I got out of it, which sort of made that system a bit funky. I'm not sure if that's actually what happened or if it was actually a thing in this game, but that's what it felt like to me, like some sort of lock. By the end of the game, I was able to get used to it, but it was still quite a problem overall, especially in enclosed areas with tons of enemies or large bosses. Lastly, and also this isn't like a real downside or anything, but it felt weird, so I gotta point this out, but a lot of times English translations in games, mostly JRPGs, tend to have a lot of language error. Like, I saw a few in Code Vein, but it was especially prevalent in Scarlet Nexus. It's weird because for a renowned developer to make such minor errors in a game's localization, it just feels off. Considering the resources they have at their disposal, of course, we don't know what goes on inside the developer's office or whatever, but personally, it was really funny to me, and it always is, but just wanted to point that out because why not, right? But now it's time to talk about the good stuff in Scarlet Nexus, and there's quite a bit of it. I'm gonna start this by saying that this game presented an amazing original story. The world it's set in is designed well, had amazing lore, and went beyond the confines of Earth, which adds more scope to it along with several plot possibilities for future sequels. Just one sequel, of course, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but I don't think many games explore the dual protagonist paths the way Scarlet Nexus did, but the way this game handled all of this was, in my opinion, really well done. A lot of the questions you might have while playing as Yuto are answered in Kasani's playthrough, and a lot of the plot points that you just can't grasp while playing as Yuito are also revealed in Kasane's playthrough because it was her who experienced it, right? So it's only natural that you would find the answers to those things when playing as her. The stories of these two protagonists are different, but they overlap at certain points, ultimately arriving at the same finale. There were minimal plot holes, and of course, like it involves time travel, so there will always be some inconsistency. But overall, it was really well written, and by the end of the game, and DLC included, the player is bound to understand like over 90% of the story with minimal, plot holes or inconsistencies or whatever. Because like at the end of the day, there are just some things that you don't question in a story which involves time travel to the extent Scarlet Nexus does. That's just how it is. At least that's the way I see it. The one part where they dropped the ball in the story, in my opinion, was when Kasane decided to kill Yuito. And no, I'm aware of the whole future Yuito business, but the way Kasane went from struggling to think about it and then immediately going out for blood after the Seiran official asked her to do it was just very off-putting. Like, this was also while her teammates kept telling her to reconsider it, but it just didn't feel right. Like, I'm glad they redeemed the character and everything was patched up naturally after the Togetsu arc, but the fact that they dropped the ball this hard was just really annoying for me because it didn't make sense. If you've played the game, if you experienced the story for both of those guys, like those characters, you would understand what I'm talking about. Like the narrative, the pacing, the direction, like all of a sudden going from caring about Yuito to just hardcore, I'm gonna kill you, it just doesn't make sense. Like, Kasane was way too selfish in that part, so that's pretty much the only thing that really bothered me when it came to the story. And that brings me to the cast of Scarlet Nexus. The characters in this game are full of life, personality, and charm. Like, I always play JRPGs with the Japanese VA for maximum immersion, and also for the nuances that are lost in translation and the dialogue. Characters, the quality of voice acting was simply phenomenal. There was never a dull moment in the character interactions, and the momentum was consistent from start to finish. I still have a few DLC Bond episodes left, but after doing all the base ones and getting to know the squad, I can say that they each have their own vibe and they're fleshed out quite nicely. I haven't heard the English VA, but honestly, I don't think it can be as bad as Xenoblade Chronicles 2, so yeah, I'm pretty sure it wasn't as bad as that. I mentioned this briefly a while ago, but the combat system in this game and the way it works is an absolute joy. It's nothing groundbreaking or super deep, but it's simple yet deep enough to be engaging and fun. Plus, it's really rewarding. The system is fleshed out as you progress in the story and unlock more team members, like to connect the SAS with, and upgrade their psionic powers to unlock benefits and skills like combo and assault regions. Like, there's a fair amount of combos that you can do in this game, and you have a lot of room to experiment with the SAS powers and different combinations of it, since you can activate up to 4 psionic powers at a time after acquiring the required skill from the brain map. My only gripe with this game that really makes me sad is that there's not enough content in the end to fully experience the endgame level combat. Like the DLC added a level 99 fight with Karen, and that's way different from the one we have at the end of the game, but honestly that's just not enough in terms of endgame content. And doing those VR missions, the training missions, is literally like doing VR missions in Metal Gear Solid. And honestly, I just wish Scarlet Nexus had more in-game stuff like Neo or Elden Ring, but maybe that's asking a bit much. But honestly, there's a lot of lore in that world, so I guess it's natural for someone to expect that considering the lore of the world, but what we got was definitely worth it though, so I'll give it that much at least. Also, the presentation in this game was a real treat. Like, while cel-shaded visuals is nothing new, but the design choice for cutscenes and the way it transitioned from storyboard style to actual animation was really nice. Visuals were vibrant throughout the game, and the environments were really dynamic. Like, we're going from the desolated urban streets of Kichiba to the wide frozen landscape of Hino Mountain. Like, there was a lot of variety in this department. Like, several watched a couple of reviews and they disagree on this point, but I personally just don't see the environments in this game as bland or anything like that personally. So I mean, I guess it just comes down to taste or opinions. The music was also nice, although it didn't fit in certain situations, in my opinion. Like, I mean, it was good in terms of being music, but I just felt it was not suited for certain locations or during certain situations in the main story. Lastly, I want to say that the DLC was worth the money considering the garbage we got with Code Wing. I'm glad they did not do that kind of thing with Scarlet Nexus, considering how some developers just go "Ooh," and lose all brain cells when thinking about DLC for their games. Like, Atlas is already pissing me off with the DLC for Soul Hackers 2, like Lost Numbers not being a part of the main game, even though it's a story and those costume packs, the demons from, mainly from SMG5 or something. Like, if you have to do DLC anyway, at least do it right. But nope. You can't, I mean, I guess it's asking too much of these developers nowadays. Like, honestly, man, it just pisses me off. But that's about it. I'm looking forward to playing patch 6.2 for FF14. It's just around the corner, but once I've cleared the raid tier, got that, badass armor set, I'm gonna get back to my backlog and really excited to try these games out. Some of the games on my list right now are Nier Automata and Replicant. I know it's been out for a long time now, but I just haven't gotten around to playing it. Tales of Arise and a few other JRPGs. I'm currently playing Witcher 2, and it's a decent experience in terms of story, even though it feels kind of dated in terms of controls and gameplay, but it's still pretty enjoyable, so yeah. But yeah, thank you for watching. Let me know what you think about Scarlet Nexus in the comments. If you played the game or not, be sure to support the channel if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one, folks. Peace.